Haynes Gilliland.
Good evening. We've heard multiple arguments for why the moratorium is needed. We know about the life expectancy gap. You said what? Oh, Charles Wilkes. Sorry. Good evening. We've heard multiple arguments for why the moratorium is needed. We know about the life expectancy gap. We know about the processed foods. We also know about the lack of diverse development in North Tulsa. But I'd like to talk about the unspoken perception of value in Tulsa. When my wife and I lived in 71st and Memorial, the perception was that we had arrived even though we lived in cheap and terrible apartments. But when we moved to North Tulsa, the perception was negative even though we live in an 11-year-old house, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and a nice garage. For too long, our community has suffered from irresponsible leadership, ulterior motives, and ultimately others benefiting off the struggles of our community. We've lost way more than we've gained in that time. But you know what? The funny thing is North Tulsa isn't even the so-called poorest part of Tulsa. It's not the most crime-ridden. It's not the most abandoned. But it is the most disenfranchised and picked on. We're asking just to be valued. At the end of the day, all of this is about value. I know about the possible lawsuit, but how much are our citizens worth? Are we worth economic development? Are we worth good schools? Are we worth living more in the life expectancy gap of 10 years? Or are we worth just a bunch of dollar stores? We're not looking for more false promises. We need real plans with the community in mind. So much has been done to North Tulsa, but not for and with North Tulsa. At the end of the day, I ask the question, are we valued or are we cheap like dollar stores? And I'd like to end with a quote by Horatio Jones. Believe it or not, providing your worth means leaving people who won't appreciate it the hell alone. How can you prove your worth more by stressing yourself, settling for less? They see your worth, they just don't value it. Thank you.